The Ballad of the Damned by DBZXDBGTXFan. Hi, I'm Johnny and this is my Pokémon story. Many years ago, the third generation of Pokémon was released, being comprised of Pokémon Emerald, Sapphire, and Ruby. My personal favorite of the three was Emerald. When I first got Emerald, it was my 13th birthday. Everybody I knew was there, including my brother, whom I've only seen 2 in 10 years. After about 2 hours since the party started, everybody gathered around to sing the happy birthday song. When everybody sung, gave me my presents, and ate the cake, they left until only my mom, dad, brother, and I remained. My mom told me that since I've been getting good grades, that she finally got me the thing I wanted most at the time, Pokémon Emerald. It was my second Pokémon game, right after Blue, but even then, I knew something was off about the game. The back said made in Texas, which I don't think is a normal place for a game to be made, and it had what now I know were bloodstains. Nonetheless, I thanked her what I think were 15 times or so. My dad was next. He got me a golden Game Boy Advance. Where he got a golden Game Boy, I'll never know. I thanked him countless times for such a unique gift. And at last came my brother. He seemed rather nervous and distraught. He didn't get me a gift. Instead, he told me, "John, never play the game Mom gave you." I responded with, "Why not?" He didn't answer me though. He just ran off. After he ran off, my mom and my dad went to sleep, and I went to play my new Pokémon game. I entered my room and felt a chill go down my spine, as though there was someone cold behind me. So I looked behind, but I didn't see anything out of the usual, just my mom's pink Lamborghini parked outside. I thought that since there wasn't anything there, that I was just nervous. I sat on my bed, put Pokémon Emerald in the Game Boy, and started playing. This is when things really started to get weird. When I turned on the game, there was no intro or the title screen. It only showed me the continue option. I thought this to be odd since this game was completely new, but since I had no other choice, I pressed continue. The save file started up at Battle Frontier, and of course, me being a normal Pokémon player, I did what everybody does, and looked at what this save file had. To my surprise, it was built pretty well. It had a level 100 Rayquaza, a level 100 Groudon, a level 100 Lugia, and a level 100 Celebi. His name was Exodus. The sprite's eyes and mouth sewn shut, and its ears were ripped off. I quickly tried to turn off the game, but instead showed me the badges screen. There were no badges, instead there were sprites of dead trainers. I turned off the Game Boy. Suddenly, I felt something cold surrounding me. The air turned colder and colder, so cold that I could see my skin turning bluer and bluer. Out of nowhere, something hit me upside the head and knocked me out. When I came to, I was in a completely white room, with no exit to be seen. I stood up and walked around aimlessly for what felt like hours, when suddenly a white figure with a black outline, extremely sharp teeth, and a giant bloody scar across his chest came to me and said, "So you finally woke up. You've been asleep for many, many years. Maybe I hit you too hard." And I responded with, "Where the bloody hell am I? And who, or should I say, what are you?" It walked closer to me and said, "What is your favorite form of torture?" I couldn't even scream. I was so terrified that my body didn't respond to anything I tried to do. It was like if you were inside a jello, but whenever you tried to move, there was so much pressure on your body that your muscles wouldn't even flinch. "It matters not. You're going to die a painful death anyway. I see in your face that you're confused as to where you are. To put it simply, you're in limbo, a place between dimensions, and today, you join one of the many who have fallen into our trap." Our trap? You're saying there's more of you? Yes, there are 12 of us in total, one for each limbo. The game that your mother got you is actually a gate into this limbo, and to your eternal suffering. I won't let that happen. I'll stop you here and now. Go ahead and try. You'll just make me angry. I rammed it, pulled its teeth out, and stabbed it in the chest countless times until all that was left was a bloody mess. You actually managed to fatally injure me, but don't think killing me will be so easy. Oh, shut up already and die. I stabbed it one final time in the throat. You may have killed me, but our comrades in your world have already started the bombing of your people. Everything I did was to stall you and stop you from saving your world, but as a reward for killing me, I'll grant you immortality, so you may suffer eternal loneliness. What do you mean, saving my world? How could I save my world? Answer me! Heh, there's no use now. Your whole world is doomed. That may be so, but at least tell me how to get out of here. The only way out of here is through the floor. I stood up and suddenly saw a portal-esque hole appear in the ground. I jumped in and came out in my room. I looked around and only saw destruction everywhere. I looked behind me and saw a calendar. It was set in the year 5089. I was gone for over 3,000 years. I will live out this lonely existence as the last man, the last human. I am the last. I am the last of us. That was The Ballad of the Damned by DBZXDBGTX fan. Final thoughts? It doesn't matter, this wasn't proofread. I've been getting asked a lot as of late for tips on writing a good creepypasta, and I always tell them to just listen to the final thoughts for tips on what to do and what not to do. To make things easier, I'm simply going to read off everything that stood out as good or bad. This is all in order. First for the good. 1. The idea of having a bit of backstory into why you like Emerald is unnecessary, but works alright. Didn't really add or take anything away. That was it for the good points. Seriously, that's all I could think of. On to the bad. 1. Who I've seen 2 in 10 years. Do you mean 2 times? Proofread the story before you send it in, and get friends to proofread it. I say this every single time someone personally requests their story to be done. No one has done it yet. 2. Everybody gathered around to sing the Happy Birthday song. The Happy Birthday song is just called Happy Birthday. This line is like calling Hot Stuff by Donna Summer the Hot Stuff song. 3. When everybody sung instead of after everybody sung. Saying when is implying they were leaving while singing, giving presents, and eating cake. Game Boy Advance cartridges don't have Made In on the back of them. This isn't necessarily a very bad thing, but you need to keep in mind that every time you break away from reality like this, it requires the reader to suspend their disbelief a bit farther. 5. I thanked her what I think were 15 times or so. You mean was, not were. Proofread, send to friends. Also, the amount of times is absolutely superfluous. 6. Golden Game Boy Advance consoles do exist. In fact, they have the Pokémon branding right on them. Either we have to suspend our disbelief that this is unique, or suspend disbelief that you couldn't tell it was a Pokémon Special Edition. Either way, that is not good. 7. And at last came my brother. Never start a paragraph with and. Proofread, send to friends. 8. He seemed nervous and distraught. If he was distraught, I think you would have noticed the second he got to the party. 9. Never play the game. Even if you were to put a comma in there, it wouldn't save this awful typo. Proofread, send to friends. 10. After being warned by his brother, the brother runs off. To where? No idea, and no one seems weirded out by it. No one even tries calling him. In fact, the mother, who bought the game, didn't wonder why there was blood on it. And the worst part of this, since the brother is assumed to know what happens when you play the game, instead of telling the main character or just taking the cartridge, he just says, "Don't play it," and runs away. Anything negative that happens from this point on in the story is now entirely because of the stupidity of this character. 11. The very next line, John ignores his brother, whom was distraught telling him not to play it, and fleeing the house in terror, and just plays the game with no forethought. The main character is now also written to be an idiot. 12. If you turned around feeling like someone was behind you, and all you saw was a car, this can only mean one of two things. 1. That the car is parked inside the house, or 2, that your back was facing a wall with a window that you can then see outside and is parked outside. That makes this scene impossible. If he was walking, there is no way the wall with the window could be directly behind him, as that would mean that he is Nightcrawler and is walking through solid matter. On top of this, it's his own house, so he knows that there is a window and a wall right there, yet he turns around to see if he's being followed. Through a window. Proofread, send it to friends. 13. 1. Mutilation on the trainer card, extremely overused. 2. The sprite's eyes and were mouth sewn shut. Proofread, send to friends. 14. You flicked the power off the handheld and it took you to a new screen instead of shutting it off. This is stretching the suspension of disbelief way too far. Almost no story can get away with this without you just calling bullshit instantly. To make this even worse, 1 sentence later, you managed to turn it off. 15. The air around is now getting colder to the point John is turning blue. The video game is now affecting real life. This has not been earned in any way and is ridiculous. This is Forgotten Leaf levels of stupid right now. 16. And who, or should I say, what are you? No human outside of really cheesy movies talks like this. This is comedic. 17. Inside a Jell-O. Not just inside Jell-O, a single undefined quantity of Jell-O. Proofread, send it to friends. 18. If the game was a gate into limbo, where the hell did John's mom get it? So the first person who plays it gets stuck in limbo, then the game is found by someone who lives with that person and they just decide to sell it? Wouldn't there be like a missing persons report before they just decide to sell off their games? And also, why was there blood on the cartridge? What does this have to do with Texas? Why does John's brother know this? Why did John's brother not say anything about this? This entire story is one gaping plot hole. 19. There is no threat to this monster whatsoever. A 13-year-old can just walk up, rip its teeth out, and stab it to death. 20. If the monster can grant immortality, why did it not grant it to itself and not die? Also, how in the fuck would a 13-year-old kid stop the world from being bombed? He didn't even know it was coming if not for this game. Also, why did they want to bomb the world? And who is even they? Pokemon? 21. So there is destruction all around you, yet a calendar was produced for the year 5089, and it's just hanging up behind you completely fine. Okay. 22. You have done no searching. You have no reason to believe you are the last of anything. And lastly, 23. What does this have to do with Pokemon? The portal was a cartridge. Other than that, absolutely nothing. It's just a monster story. This isn't even a Poképasta. This may be the most inept story I've ever read. I've actually found this worse than Moaning Blue, because at least Moaning Blue had something to do with Pokemon and some ideas. Moaning Blue constantly came up with ideas, then just forgot about them sentences later, but that's still better than having 2 ideas and neither of them making any sense whatsoever. Also, one last time, because it bears repeating, proofread the story the day after you're done writing it. Send it to friends to proofread more, then fix it up before you send it to me. Join me next week when we do yet another Pokemon Creepypasta that's not already on YouTube, with garysback.exe. Until next time, I'm Nightcrawler.